Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Preference. We are so glad you made it. We got some great information to share with you today regarding employment for you as the transitioning military member, spouses, veterans, reservists, National Guard members alike. So with that, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. And with that, we're going to kick it over to Randy, who's going to give us the outline for today. Here you go, Randy.
Hey, so you got the standard crew here. You've got Jason, Chris, and myself, and we've got 4 topics that we're going to be going over today. First, how to prepare for the transition, leaving the military and becoming a full-time civilian employee. So that's going to be one of the topics we cover. How to use your network effectively. That's going to be the second topic we cover. Third thing is trends. The job market's always moving. It's a moving target. It's never, stationary. So we want to talk about trends in the mil to civ hiring space. And lastly, I want to talk a little bit about job fairs. We've touched on this a little bit in some other videos, but these are wonderful ways for you to get out there and get your resume seen, meet companies that could be a good fit for you. So we're going to cover all that. And kind of starting with last thing first, Jason, did you have some information you wanted to cover for the group on some upcoming job fairs? I'll kick it over to you.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Randy. So yes, job fairs. Absolutely. This is what this channel is about, is finding better employment than what you have today, or finding employment if you don't have a current employer, right? So job fairs are a great way to do that. We've done videos on them and how to prepare for them and all that in the past. And there's going to be kind of a common theme on those discussions. And we may run down some rabbit holes here as well. There are a couple upcoming virtual job fairs. So these are going to be national or nationwide companies, organizations that'll be in a lot of metro type areas for you. And you definitely want to get on there and see what's going on. Times have changed. There are so many ways in which you can access different job entities, organizations out there that are looking for you. And this is one way to do it. Virtual job fair. If you go to Recruit Military's website and you click on upcoming job fairs, you will see that they have a virtual career fair on March 19th of this year, 2024. And it should be a good one. I'm going to give you a little bit of information here on it just so you're aware. So it's a national virtual career fair for veterans. It is it's March 19th, 2024 from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Central Time. And basically it is the candidates that they're looking to attend this, which would be job seekers, those who have served in the U.S. military, and their spouses. So spouses are included. Often in this world, veterans include spouses in any of the dialogues. So it's a great thing to see. This includes active duty, retired, separated veterans, National Guard members, and reservists. And then it also states here that those veterans that are interested in careers nationwide. So again, you're looking all over. So whether you're looking to move to a new location or you're looking something in your immediate location, there could be something for you here. So definitely wanted to share that because it is an important aspect of finding a job, is hitting up these job fairs. With that, I want to kick it over to Chris because I think you have a couple other things you wanted to add to kind of that virtual egg hunt, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, everybody. So Vets in Tech, and you can find Vets in Tech at vetsintech.co. has a bunch of events coming up in April and May that are virtual training, most of them, either no fee or low fee types of training that get you into cyber, building cyber skills or AI. Vets in Tech actually just launched their AI branch. So there's going to be more content and more training coming up with the Vets in Tech partners, which are employer partners as well. So it's a great way to get your foot in the door. So once again, vetsintech.co. And there's plenty of stuff that you'll find on there. And they also have plenty of employer meetups as well. So just a great resource and a great place to go to build skills.
No, that's an excellent point. I think one of the things we need to talk about when we get into job fairs is, how do you prepare for them? So I'm going to throw a couple of ideas out there and let you two chime in on this a little bit. I think the first thing is research. So Jason's already mentioned a resource to you. Chris has mentioned a resource to you. But I think you need to take a broad look at what's out there. You can't go to all the job fairs that are available. So you do need to tailor it a little bit to what you're kind of wanting to do with your career after you leave the military. Try to find job fairs specific for the industry that interests you, be it information technology, logistics, medical, whatever it is. So first things first, do your research. And there's some other resources out there we can talk about. Military One Source is a great place to stop. If you haven't been over to their new website, go check it out. HireHeroesUSA.org is another great spot that you can go. So those are kind of my thoughts on doing your research and tailoring that approach. And then the next thing is make it targeted. So now that you know what industry you're in, make sure you're thinking about what companies align with where you want to be, and use that as part of this whole job fair initiative that you take. So those are kind of my initial thoughts on the general job fair thing. I'll kick it over to either Chris or Jason if you want to add anything on that.
I'll jump in real quick. So yes, absolutely, Randy. I think that doing your due diligence and doing some research is super important. If you target specific companies that are going to be there, do a little digging and understand what they're looking for, see what jobs they have open, tailor resumes specific to the job you are interested in with that organization. And here's a great tip. Come up with a couple really good, inquisitive, smart questions that you can just ask while you're there, and make it seem authentic and not, I put a lot of effort in trying to figure out this question, right? But you know what? I kind of have a question for you. How about da-da-da, and how do you plan to get from here to there? And I know that you guys are, you found them in the news somewhere, whatever, right? You can Google search and find so much information on companies, their strategy, where they're going. I like to Google search and hit news, right? Most of us just do the all or images. If you're looking for things, there's a news button when you Google search, and you can pick up any new articles regarding that organization and their recruiting efforts and so forth. So try to come up with a couple good, inquisitive questions, because that is what's going to resonate in their minds, is like, that person was on it. They had a couple really good questions. So with that, I'll kick it over to Chris, see what you have.
Yeah, so Incredibles is one of the greatest movies ever, certainly the best cartoon movie. Edna Mole once said, "Luck favors the prepared." And so, look, stay open-minded, but go in having done your research and being prepared, like both Randy and Jason had just mentioned. And part of that is knowing what you're going after, staying open-minded to things that might pop up that you didn't think of because you couldn't. I got my first job out of the military at a job fair doing something that I never knew even existed. So, but I knew enough to know I wanted to be in California and I wanted to be in technology. And I talked my way into a recruiting job, which I had never really done before or even knew what human resources was. So know what you're looking for, know your must-haves, right? For me, it was, I wanted California, I wanted tech. Now, know your nice-to-haves. Now, some of the nice-to-haves are different depending upon your own situation. I was single, way single at the time. I had nothing, no considerations in terms of geographical restrictions. Some of you do. Some of you would like to go back home. Some of you would like to go near home. Some of you would like to go wherever you're going to do your National Guard and Reserve duty that you lined up. So make sure you understand and be clear, but be flexible, because even though you understand the things that you believe are must-haves, when you go through this process and you don't find a job or a career field that is going to meet you where you are today, then you got to shoot 2 or 3 shots down the road and do the adjust your must-haves to a nice-to-have to get you to where you want to be. It may not be this first job; it could be down the road. Back to you guys.
Yeah, I'll give a couple of final thoughts here on the job fair thing. First, don't get discouraged. So For those of you leaving the military in particular, you're used to having that steady Eddie paycheck. You've been in for a period of time, likely years, in some cases, likely many years. And so finding that new niche that you want to do in your civilian world or your civilian life after you leave the military is going to take some time. So I guess my first piece of advice is don't get discouraged at these job fairs. If you're not seeing what you like, if you're not meeting people that you feel like you've got a good connection with, that doesn't mean the next job fair that you go to won't bear fruit. So that's my first piece of advice. And then the second piece of advice I have is follow up. So when you make connections with these people, don't just leave it at the table after you shake their hand and walk away. Find a way to reach back out, be it through their email, their LinkedIn profile. There's information on their business cards. Even if they're not going to be a fit down the road, just sending a polite follow-up email is a way to keep your network kind of in warm status. So those are kind of the two things that I'd round out the discussion about job fairs with. Moving on to the next topic we're going to discuss today, and that is preparing for transition. So it's an emotional event for a lot of us as we leave the military. Years and years of our life have been put into that. And now we're taking off that uniform and we're putting on a whole new outfit and doing a whole new line of work. And so there's some things that we can do to be successful in that. So I'm going to throw it over to Jason. If you had an initial thought on preparing for the transition that you want to throw out for the group, that'd be great. And then we'll go around robin like we usually do.
So my thought on this is a little bit different, I think, than a lot of people's, because my approach and my conversation with folks that are transitioning from the military, especially the more years you put in, is you tend to create this identity that is so enmeshed with the military that when you do take that uniform off for the very last time, you do lose a little bit of yourself for a minute and
Yep.
that identity. It's a real thing. And I think that the thing that I always like to try to get across to transitioning service members, especially, again, those that put in a lot of years, is the military didn't create who you are. It helped kind of embed some good things and what have you, but you were a dynamic person before you joined. That's why you joined. There are way more people that don't join the military because they're scared. They don't have the ability to, be in that stressful situation. They don't want to be yelled at. They don't, right? So we are undoubtedly a very special group of people, and the uniform didn't make us that way. It maybe honed in some of the skills and things that we obviously, because we joined when we're young, and it helped mold us and make us who we are, but it is not our full identity. It's a piece of us, but not all of us. So I always like to kind of reflect on that because it is scary getting out. I don't care who you are. It's a whole different world. And if you don't have any family to lean on in that transition, somebody's house to move into for a little bit for some folks, it makes it really hard, really fast. Many people will take I don't want to be too theatrical here, but many people will take a large pay cut.
Yeah.
Especially if you have a family, right? So you're losing your housing allowance, you're all of this stuff, and you're jumping out. You're maybe taking a job that's a little bit lower than what you had imagined you would do in the transition, just until you can get your feet wet and take a knee and figure out your next move. So there's a lot of stresses that come into play. And before I go further, I want to kind of pass it around the circle, and then we'll come back again to kind of move along with this kind of mindset. So with that, I'll kick it over to Chris to hear what you have, and then eventually after Randy, I'll go some more.
Okay.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest pieces of advice is don't wait, right? So I know there's a lot of things you're doing as you're starting the transition process. Don't wait to reach out to places where you think you might land and connect with the support infrastructure. And that support infrastructure could be Goodwill Industries. They help veterans transition. That support infrastructure could be Vets in Tech. It could be Work for Warriors. It could be the local VA. It could be the American Legion or any of the other organizations that that will embrace you as you move on to the next chapter. A lot of people will wait and say, "Oh, I'll just do that when I either figure out where I'm going to land or just do it when I do land," and that just takes up time, right? And so what it does is it builds up time where when you're thinking things are going to work a certain way and then they don't, and then other factors start creeping in. So again, luck favors the prepared, and they will embrace you as long as you reach out. The second thing is, set up a set of goals. What are my 30-day goals post transition? What are my 45-day goals post transition? And of course, you're going to remain flexible because you're going to run into things that you couldn't predict. But again, if you're preparing and you're talking to other people who have transitioned recently, you have your support network, your safety blanket network, your buddy system set up already, then it's just going to be a lot easier for you to handle the things the curveballs that come that you weren't expecting. So prepare. And I know, and I didn't do as much as I should have, but I know that in today's world, it seems like there are all these resources, but just pick one at a time and go after just one bite of the elephant, single bite at a time. How about Randy, Jason? Any thoughts on those ideas?
Yeah, I think you guys are touching on a subject just under the surface here that I think is really important to keep in mind as you prepare to transition, and that is your mental and physical health. So it can get lost. You've got a million things to do to out process and then retire, or if you're a military spouse, in a lot of cases, you're thinking about things for the family, or you're thinking about your own job and how that's going to kind of, work into this transition. For everybody watching, as you get ready to take this step, think about your mental health. And it's okay to have that conversation. There's a lot of stigma around it, but there shouldn't be. It's going to be an emotional challenge at times. It's going to be draining at times. There's not a lot of transitions from the military to the civilian world that go over perfectly without any speed bumps. So my first piece of advice as you get ready to make the leap is have kind of a mental health care plan in place. Make sure you're physically healthy. Make sure you're ready, because it's going to be taxing on you and your family. And that brings me to my second point that can get overlooked as we are doing our out processing with finance, and we're getting our orders cut, and we're thinking about taking off that uniform, and oh my gosh, I got to plan a retirement ceremony and invite half the world. Don't forget to have a family care plan in place, or a family transition plan, I'll call it. So don't just look at it through the lens of the transitioning service member, or in some cases, the spouse that is kind of moving along with their better half that's leaving the military. Think about the whole family. Think about the kids. Think about where you need to live, where you want to, be, where you want to put down roots. What all that's going to look like is there support in the community for you. So what I recommend is at least 6 months before you transition, you build a family transition plan. That's going to be the kids. That's going to be the spouse. That's going to be the service member. Possibly, if you have an extended family, there's some considerations there. Don't forget exceptional medical needs if you have those going on with your family. So take 20 minutes, sit down and jot out a family transition plan. I think that's going to really help provide some peace of mind as you prepare to transition. So that's my take on it. Jason, I'm going to throw it over to you for last thoughts on preps to transition.
So 6 months is a great target. I love 6 months. And here's the thing. We're talking about alleviating some of the stressors, right, of just the whole thing, because it can be and it will be. VA disability compensation is another way to help alleviate some of the stresses, because, let's face it, a little extra money coming in helps with the stress level being reduced. For example, you can file what's called a benefits delivery at discharge, a BDD claim, anywhere between 3 to 6 months prior to your discharge, not your terminal leave, but your actual discharge or retirement date, whatever it may be. So you can file that claim 6 months to 3 months prior to that. The idea is that that's going to allow the VA to work on your claim at the same time that you're out processing, essentially, and ideally will be able to have a decision within the first few months of you being discharged, so you could start receiving some disability compensation pay. Now, this isn't a disability compensation video, but I do need to throw this in there because of the audience, right? Disability is a horrible word that the VA uses because we often self-segregate out of it just simply because we're hearing the word disability. I can walk, I have all my fingers, all my toes, I'm not disabled. Okay, so we self-segregate out. The reality is that instead of calling it VA disability compensation, it just should be VA compensation, because it really encompasses any sort of diagnosed condition that is chronic in nature or has residual effects. These include things like bad heartburn, gastroesophageal reflux disease. It includes migraine headaches. It includes arthritis. It includes, the lumbar strain. It includes motor tics, so like a twitch that's uncontrollable. These things can all be compensated after you get out. Look, we can all agree we were severely underpaid compared to our civilian counterpart that would endure the same things. This is where they make up for it, is on the backside through VA. Just to give you a couple quick numbers, okay, if you're married with one child at a 30% rating, that's $632. If you have a 60% rating, it's $1,577. If you have 100% rating, you could be about $4,100 per month, all tax free. Very important to understand that this benefit is there for you. I would file it and I would watch videos on it. This is a way to help set the stage for you as you transition. One last thought on it, Randy, is that once you are service connected with the VA for a service connected disability, you also open up the door to potentially being enrolled in their Veterans Readiness and Employment Program, which is also a great program, and they will assist you through that as well. There's plenty of videos on it. Please watch it. We'll do more on it as well. But that is a great way to set yourself up for success. So with that, that's my wrap up on it. Randy, I'll throw it back to you.
Hey, Randy, before we do that, coming back to you, Jason, one of the set of support networks that we didn't mention was the veterans reps. Maybe something that you'd want to touch on a little bit there, not only in the local one-stop shops, but how would folks get connected ahead of time if they actually know what geographic location they're going to be heading to?
Right. So here's two things. One, you can file yourself online through va.gov. There's plenty of information out there on what to look for, how to document it. I personally highly encourage folks to work with an accredited veteran rep, veteran representative, or a veteran service officer, or a veteran service organization. Somebody who is accredited with the VA. They will not charge you, and they will help you with that second set of eyes on all of your stuff. It doesn't mean don't be prepared. Back to that being prepared piece that we talked about, even with employment stuff. Look, at the end of the day, although these people have good hearts and they're going to help you with it, they're going to be more of an order taker. You're going to tell them what your issues are, and they're going to file for that. They're not going to really typically help you uncover everything. You need to do a little footwork up front to figure out what you can file for, try to gather some of the evidence, that type of stuff. So definitely my channel, my main channel is Veterans Info Tap. Check that out. You'll get good information there. There's other channels too on YouTube. Feel free. Get the information. Be prepared and work with an accredited rep is my suggestion. The VA website does have a search feature to find accredited reps. You can also Google search Veteran Service Office or Veteran Services in your county and state, and something should pop up as well. That was great, Chris.
Yeah. Did you ever have people call you before they transitioned and said, "Hey, I'm transitioning in a month. What should I be thinking about?"
So what I did was I actually went to the TAPS classes and spoke at TAPS. So I front loaded it and weaseled my way in and worked with TAPS to be able to spread the word upstream. And some of these people are attending TAPS 18 months prior to discharge. I mean, they're just super super on it, and other people are like, I'm getting out tomorrow and I just happen to be here today. So the big thing is if you're able to file that benefits delivery at discharge, okay, that 3 to 6 month time frame, that's great. If you're 2 months from discharge, the VA will not allow you. You have to wait until you actually get out to file your claim, which is fine. Either way, if you file your claim within 1 year of discharge, the VA will back pay you to your discharge date. So that's an important piece to understand. While you're in service, if I had to give everybody one piece of advice, while you're in service toward the tail end, go get diagnosed for my elbow hurt, my back hurt, I bumped my head, I have migraines, I have heartburn, and so on, because you will thank yourself later for getting it documented while you're in service, as that's a requirement to prove that your condition manifested or as a result of your service. So with that, I could talk all day long on this. So we'll try to stay focused, but it's important, right? I mean, if we're talking transitioning, this is a very important piece of the transitioning process.
There are job assistance and job services in the local one-stop shops with vet reps there too. So it's all part of the things that our beloved government offers you for the service that you and your family have given.
All spokes in the same wheel, right? So so it's important to, if you can, I like to look at the veteran service offices in each county for some states as the little hub, right? The sprocket in the center of the wheel or whatever, right? The little hub of the wheel. And then they have connections to all the different other things in that geographic area that they can refer you to meet your needs. So
don't wait, do it, Randy.
That's right.
No, you bring up a really good point there, Jason. That leads us to our next topic, really, I think. And you use the kind of the hub and spoke analogy. I want to talk about how to use your network effectively next year in this video. So one of my favorite parts of being a service member was the people. Absolutely. People and travel were two of the big things that I really enjoyed. But above all, it was the people. I met people from all walks of life, all places in the world, across the United States, every different background you can think of. So I developed a fairly large network. And sometimes I think service members and even spouses of service members don't realize how big the network that they have or what they've been exposed to while they were affiliated with the military. So I want to take a little bit of time to talk about that. I'm going to go first because I've got just two little pointers that I did. They're very simple things that helped me in my transition. And then I'm going to toss it over to Chris first to kind of reverse our flow here. First thing that I did when I prepared to transition was I reached out to colleagues, former commanding officers, former subordinates, really anybody that I knew while I was in the military, and just sent them a quick note and say, hey, I'm love to connect with you again. It's been a while. In 6 months to a year, I'm transitioning out of the military. It's great news for my family. Good things have happened. But just wanted to give you a heads up and reconnect with you. So that's tip number one. Reach out to former colleagues, other people that you've worked with. It could be civilian employees inside the Department of Defense. If you're a military spouse, it could be people that you worked with in one of your jobs along the way, whatever it may be. Reach out and let people know that you're about ready to transition into the civilian world. The second thing I'd say, and it's easy to do, is just update your online profiles. LinkedIn comes to mind. We're not going to do a deep dive into the pros and cons and nuances of social media right now. But if you can carve out 30 minutes over the weekend, or 30 minutes one evening and just get your LinkedIn and some basic social media profiles up to date. That's going to take some of the stress off your shoulders when you get ready to make the leap. So with that, I'm going to kick it over to Jace or Chris and get your thoughts on how to use your network as you transition.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked a little bit about this in some previous episodes, and it's going to be something that will be woven into pretty much every episode because it is so important. 3 quick tips. Number 1, don't be afraid. Now, don't be afraid to make the ask. Don't be afraid to ask the question. Everybody has been in your shoes at some point or the other. But with that, just be crisp, be respectful of their time. And if they offer you something, make sure you give them the appropriate the appropriate thanks and gratitude for helping them out. Number 2 is now that somebody has bequeathed that to you, you have an obligation to pay it forward. So when it's your time, and it could be your time right away, because there are other people transitioning at the same time as you are that have the same questions that didn't make the ask that you could help out, right? And so don't be afraid, pay it forward. And guess what the third one is? Be prepared. Luck favors the prepared. That's my theme for this session. Jason.
That's awesome. So, of course, you're going to leverage your existing sphere of influence, your networking opportunities, and so forth. However, you also need to look at ways to expand specifically your networking availability, I'll say, specifically for job searches, right? For what you're looking for. Now, you can do that 2 ways. One is utilizing networking events, utilizing virtual resources like LinkedIn, reaching out to people that have commonalities, ideally, right? You want to reach out to somebody, maybe you both served in the Army, or you both served in the Marine Corps, right? You're finding people you can connect with commonality and bounce off some questions back and forth, right? So it's kind of soft. It's not going to, you got to work it for a little bit, start creating that relationship. But there's also other resources that act the same as a good networking partner. And that is Work for Warriors. Work for Warriors is an organization that's in multiple states, and I'll give you the states here, but if you're looking for employment within any one of these states, utilizing the Work for Warriors teams inside each one of these states act as a networking person for you, bridging the gap between you and the organizations that they represent. The fast version here is the Work for Warriors teams reach out to organizations, companies, businesses, what have you, build relationships, build value around hiring veterans and spouses. And that way, when you look to apply to that job, they make the connection and basically a nice referral of you and your abilities with that organization. So it goes a long way. They are effectively the person on the inside, kind of like networking with somebody really good at a company you want to get in with. So the states that Work for Warriors is at, because this is important, if you're looking for work in any one of these states, I highly suggest connecting with the Work for Warriors team. So Washington State, Oregon, California, Nevada, Arizona, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Indiana, Ohio, and Hawaii. There's more to come, but that's a big, big population of folks within those states. And I would be, if I had to give one recommendation in any one of those states, is connect with those people, because they will be a great networking advocate for you. Back to you, Randy.
Yeah, I want to double tap that there, Jason. I've worked with Work for Warriors, had engagements with them in the past, specifically in California, and I have found them to be a top-notch, wonderful organization. So don't hesitate to reach out to them. Check out their website, pick up the phone, shoot them an email. There is a wonderful team of professionals that are there to help. So I think that's an excellent point.
I think I'm
The
going to
last
adjust.
thing that we have to talk about.
I think I'm going to adjust my talking points here.
Yeah.
On the fly. So I'm going to stick with don't be afraid. You guys just kind of mentioned don't be afraid. Don't be put yourself out there. Make the ask. Do it crisply and respectfully. Don't give up. I know, Randy, that's kind of something that you keep saying because sometimes it can be a little daunting, or sometimes people don't get back to you or whatever. And then pay it forward. I think those three. So don't be afraid. Don't give up. Pay it forward in your whole transition and search process. Let me tell you a quick story, and I'll make it quick. I promise. I get a call from somebody I served with, whose nephew is a Naval Academy grad, computer science engineer, just moved out to the Bay Area about a year ago because his wife is from the Bay Area. He didn't know anybody. He's working remotely on a contract with a defense contractor, and he asks my former flight school roommate was his uncle, connected us. I sat down. We built a plan, and he wasn't afraid to put himself out there. He wasn't afraid to have goals and dreams. His dream was to work for OpenAI, the Sam Altman. Everybody knows ChatGPT now, and so we worked through what it would take to actually get an opportunity. I happen to know a former Army veteran who is a recruiter there. Connected them. They didn't have any openings, but what they did have was an event that was coming up that he got invited to. He meets somebody at this event. Just, they start talking. It happens to be a hiring manager who didn't have any jobs open at that time, but did 3 months later. Now he's starting at OpenAI. His dream came true within about a 3-month period because he wasn't afraid to make the ask, wasn't afraid to make the connection. He wasn't afraid he didn't stop going after it. He did it respectfully. And now he's going to have the opportunity to pay it forward. So those are the things that happen when you're prepared and you keep yourself accountable and you have goals and you're helping other people along the way. It will happen for you too.
No, that's an awesome story. Hey, last topic we have to talk about today is trends that we're seeing in the military to civilian hiring process. So let's take a couple minutes and discuss that. I'm going to throw a couple out there just to get us started, and then we'll kick it over to Jason and around the horn to Chris. First thing that I'm seeing is an increased demand for technical expertise from the military. So for the 80-ish% of the military that is enlisted, this is good news for you because you tend to be the technical experts inside the military. So there's a strong upward pressure on the demand signal for that kind of talent that I've seen personally. So that's good news. If you do have technical training, don't be afraid to get that polished up and placed on your resume because it's going to be of interest to a lot of employers. Second thing, this is a bit more niche, if you will, or a bit more specific to a certain market, and that's medical. Folks in the military do get high quality medical training. If you're a medical professional from any stripe, be it a medical administrator, nurse, doctor, nurse practitioner, whatever it may be, physical, PA, whatever it is, physician's assistant, there's going to be demand for you in the civilian world. And I think you're going to land on your feet really well. So two of the trends that I'm seeing, a need for increased, technical skills coming out of the military and folks that are in the medical field. That's what I've noticed. There's a couple other things I'll throw out at the end when we wrap this up, but I'm going to toss it over to Jason and get your take on trends right now.
I'll say that when you think about, I'm going to just use employment kind of just in general, just getting a job kind of anywhere. We've seen a big shift over the last 10 years or so with, one, how long individuals stay in their current job or with their current company before they job hop. The job hopping is way more common now than it was 10, 15, 20 years ago. That's expensive for companies. They don't like that attrition so much. So I think that over the last 10 years or so, organizations have really realized that if they provide the right environment, military veterans are more apt to stay longer, job hop less, as long as there's some sort of a clear path for upward movement, right? And the other thing is, I'm going to kind of just phrase it in a very easy to understand way. These employers, typically your hiring managers who've been around longer, right? When they're looking to hire somebody and they're looking at a 20-something-year-old over here and a 20-something-year-old over here, they're understanding that if I'm hiring the veteran, they're going to show up. They're not going to be late. They're not going to whine or complain. I'm going to have to tell them to go home, right? Hey, look, you got to leave because you got to come back tomorrow, right? Or not. Hey, I'm glad you're still here knocking that out. Thank God, right? So there's a sense of relief to understand that I'm hiring somebody who is going to get the job done. They're also the trends over the last, I don't know, Chris would know better than me, but I would say at least over the last 5 to 10 years, organizations have really started trying to identify the veteran talent, put in place people that understood military, either wearing an additional hat in their current job duty, as, okay, look, you served in the military, you're a recruiter for this, but you're also going to be our military recruiter, to really try to understand and get out there and attract military veteran talent, because of these attributes that we bring to the table, these kind of unspoken things, the things that you want in everybody, but you're not getting. And it's kind of dipping down a little bit. You might get somebody who's super talented, but everybody, they're rocking the boat. They can't gel. They're not showing up. They're missing, they're calling in sick. Those are things that you typically don't need to worry about in what I call the veteran sphere. So I think that over the last 5 to 10 years, this is becoming more and more of a reality. The last thing I'll throw in there is security clearance. Even if you don't think that the job you're looking for is going to require it, and you have a secret clearance, right? Just the basic secret clearance. In some organizations, your job might not so much need it, but the company needs you to have it just because you're in some sort of a more sensitive area. And that can go a long way. These companies don't want to pay for it unless they have to. And I'm talking, even if you're a contract security provider for an organization out there, if that organization is a contractor with the government building something special and they need you to at least have a secret clearance to walk around and patrol the area, there's a lot of value in that, and they will pay you more because you have it, because then they don't have to pay for you to go get it, right? So that's a couple of the things that I've seen. I'd love to get Chris's thoughts on it.
Yeah, look, I mean, the pendulum always swings, and we've seen some things over the past several years because of the high demand for talent. And the good thing is, it looks like, the jobs reports have come in, better than expected. Jobs have remained steady, but it isn't at the feverish pace as it once was, where companies had to look for alternative sources of talent, which veterans kind of falls into. So you're still going to have to work pretty hard, but there's enough companies out there that have the type of folks that, like Jason was speaking to, that focus on just hiring veterans. We've spoken in previous episodes about leveraging the employee resource groups that are specific to veterans, or any other things that might apply to you, whether it be race or gender-based or even family-based types of employee resource groups that you have a connection with. And you can leverage that connection for that networking and for that contact. In terms of things that are hot, cyber's smoking hot, and it's just going to get hotter. So there's there are free or no fee or low fee or just free resources that are out there, and we spoke about Vets in Tech earlier, that will get you prepped for some of these more technical careers. And I know that the Guard and the Reserves are going to be building up a lot of their cyber commands. And so, the ability to kind of think, I know when you're in the military, you can't wait to get out. The last thing in your mind is doing it more, but just part-time. But I'm telling you, that kind of land in a National Guard or Reserve spot, build your network while you're looking for your job, and then you have options and choices after that. Is a nice way to transition out, because that, transitions from it's 100% of you to 0% of you. That's what's really, really hard, right? And so don't throw that opportunity out the window just because you're anxious to get out. Randy mentioned healthcare. That's going to be around forever. And there's also veterans make good franchisees, and there's lots of franchise opportunities if you've saved some coinage while you're in the military, or you could pursue a small business loan, or for money from friends and families. That's also an opportunity that's going to continue to be there for you. So the world is still your oyster. It's moving fast. We're kind of through this period of low to no hiring, and things are starting to come back up. And so you just got to be prepared. You got to be ready, and you got to be out networking, out working, and outplaying all of the other folks out there who want the same jobs that you do. Okay. So buckle in, take a little time off to decompress if you need to, but set your goals and don't stop going after them. The timing of those goals can vary, but don't ever go in just waiting for something to drop in your plate. Sometimes that happens, but it's very, very rare. What happens is that something drops in your plate because you're hustling and you're out there and you're doing the things that you're supposed to be doing. And then something comes out of a direction that you could have never prepared, and it just happens to be something that's perfect for you. And those things happen to people who are out there doing the hard work. All right. What do we say, gents?
Well, I'm going to throw it over to you, Jason, to close us out. I think this was a very good episode today. So over to you to close us out, Jason.
All right. Well, here's the big kind of takeaway for me anyway, is preparing up front while you're still in is about the smartest thing you can do. Twofold: one, VA claim stuff; two, start building your network, start looking for things. If you need to, I'm going to throw this in there, it wasn't said. If you're 6 months to a year out and you want to go into a certain job field, and a 3-month certificate in some sort of specialized whatever might help you get that on your resume, do it while you're in, right? A very important thing, you can knock out online a lot of these certificates nowadays, and it's just going to make you look even that much better. Don't forget about the job fair that is virtual and on the 19th, which is tomorrow, for those that watch this on Monday. So thanks so much for watching. We really appreciate each and every one of you. Please share the information, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, all of that. It really does mean a lot. Thank you so much. We appreciate each and every one of you, and we look forward to seeing you next time.